So, I don't know what I need to say. I was just told by the Lord to preach, to speak. I don't know where I'm going in this, but I will say this, as I surrender to Jesus Christ fully, with all my heart, strength, soul, and might. I'm a type of person, I am a person who lives every day in horrible pain. I'm a person who struggles to find a job because of my pain. I've been looking into jobs that include voice acting, entry data processing, things I can do at home. Because my body is riddled with arthritis. I have osteoarthritis, and it's severe cases in my ankles, my knees, my hips, my back, my neck, my arms. I have struggled going to the bathroom every day because of the arthritis. It feels like I ran a marathon every time just to go to the bathroom. Going up the stairs feels like climbing a mountain. And this is my reality every day. I've also gained agoraphobia because of the harassment and the stalking that has been taking place in my life for 10 years. Like, I don't want to go outside because there's always someone driving up, there's always someone taking a picture or saying a rude voice, because a bunch of people concocted that I'm this horrible person, and I haven't committed any crimes. I'm just a woman who struggles every day, and I continue to struggle every day, and this is my reality, is struggling to go to the bathroom, struggling to go upstairs, heck, struggling to put on my clothes and take a shower is also a very painful experience where I have to psych myself up before I can do any of that, because the pain is so severe. I'm currently under 5 medications that I take multiple times a day because of this pain, and it doesn't even cut the threshold of pain I'm in. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm at my wit's end, and I'm certainly not going to surrender to Satan, because he's the one who put me in this scenario. He's the one that caused people's hearts to be darkened, to look at me as some pariah, to look at me as the devil, when all I want to do is just love people. I know I've said choice words. I know I haven't reacted right in life. But my intention was never to hurt anyone, because I don't want to hurt anyone. And I'm too ethical as a person to want to even side with Satan, because I know there's a choice now. It's either go with God and suffer, or be with Satan and prosper. But that's a lie, because all these people that had short-lived prosperous lives because they sided with the devil, their prosperous lives ended quickly, ended shortly. For instance, you look at Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. You look at him, and he had a well-running company before he got involved with the devil, aka Donald Trump. He had a prosperous company, and he says he believes in Jesus. I don't know. He puts the cross on the American flag, and I think that's so disgusting as an American to do, because we are supposed to separate politics and state with religion. And I don't think a lot of these MAGA people realize that there needs to be a clear separation between church and state. And it's not because you don't love Jesus that you separate church and state. It's because you're not the only one who has beliefs in this country, and it should stay neutral, because even a lot of people who are Christians don't worship the way that other Christians do. Some Christians are more aggressive. I don't want to be that person. I think it's wrong to try to push your religion onto people. Because what if you're wrong about your brand of Christianity? I believe politics should stay completely secular. And I think the Bible verifies that as well. Because you see Israel wanting a king. We need a king. We need a king, instead of having the king, aka Jesus Christ of Nazareth. We want a man king, so they got Saul, and he was a horrible king because they mixed religion and politics. You go to the crucifixion of Jesus, and you see what happens when politics gets mixed up with religion. Jesus died because of that. Because they wanted Caesar to crucify Jesus because of their religion. The Jews, the Jewish people, the Hebrews, the seed of Abraham. And you still see it today. You see the Jewish rabbis bowing their head time and time and time and time again at some damn wall because they think they can get penance from God. And it doesn't work that way. You have to acknowledge your mistakes and take credit for it. And now there's things circulating that a lot of people think that Trump is the Messiah. Trump is not the Messiah. There's only one Messiah, and that's Jesus Christ. But these MAGA people, they honestly believe that Trump is the Messiah. There's a lot of Israelis that think that Trump is the Messiah. The Messiah is supposed to be pure, folks. The Messiah is supposed to be pure, not a man who's full of adultery and lies and deceit and violence. The Messiah is a lamb, and yes, he is a lion at the same time, but he's a lamb for the slaughter. He's not a powerful, like, with might, like he is mighty, but I mean, he's not, like, violent. You should listen to David when he said that God hates when you sow discord among your brethren. He hates that. And every day you see Israel showing discord among their brethren. And I'm talking about the Palestinians. That is their brethren. They are the seed of Abraham. If you like it or not, they are part of that promise. Abraham's promise. They still are the seed of Abraham. They are Hagar's children, who was sent out in the desert because of a jealous woman called Sarah to provide for only herself and her child that Sarah wanted. I don't understand why it happened that way. But for the longest time of my life, I could understand what Hagar went through, because a lot of women go through that every day. Being shunned. And kicked out of your family, essentially. Hagar was just doing what she was told to do. Make a child with Abraham, so Abraham could have a seed. And that seed became Islam. And I've been researching the Quran and reading the Quran. And I have to say that the stories that are in the Quran, their beliefs, are no different than Christianity's beliefs and what's in the Bible. Thank you. And I am ashamed that I was angry at Islam for years because of September 11th. I am ashamed that I didn't research Islam sooner, because I was just so angry what happened. And I want to say I'm sorry to my Muslim brothers and sisters for being angry with you over nonsense, things that were not in your control. Yeah. I have to preach. I want to say sorry for that. I am truly sorry for that, for being angry at you. And I feel bad for it. I've been looking into other religions too. And they're just so similar, but with like different perspectives, that I realize and acknowledge that to be ecumenical is to be close to God. To allow these different faiths to thrive and live, because every religion has a seed of truth. Every religion always comes to the point where they acknowledge this invisible God, this creator God, the God that created everything, and that God is Jesus Christ, our Messiah. Our Messiah came here to help us, but we didn't listen. You look at Christianity now, and it's disgusting, full of violence and vengeance, because the devil made it that way. He snuck someone in there, said, "We will help you prosper," and I'm talking about Trump. And all it did was cause religion to fall. I don't think humans are responsible enough, smart enough, sophisticated enough to rule this world or lands. I used to think that the government was out to get you, but through my own personal experiences, if you haven't heard about what's been going on with CPS and Scranton, I suggest you do, because it shows how incompetent and reckless the government has been. And it's not because of any one individual, it's just because us as humans, we haven't gotten our shit together. Like I said, we're not competent or sophisticated enough to rule anything. You look at Congress now, and they're a mess. They're completely separated. They don't work bipartisanly anymore. They used to, but they don't anymore. Politics and trying to get others to waver in their favor is more important than actually putting this country together, and the world, for that fact. Let's go into the world. You look at the war between Ukraine and Putin, and frankly, I'm very much Sweden at this point. I take no sides in this war because I think both leaders are corrupt and fueling the industrial military complex more and more. In my own personal feeling, I think all countries, everyone should get rid of their military. Because 90% of the world's budget goes into killing people, when we could take that 90% and save people. We'd rather kill people than save people. And I don't think that's what God wanted. You look at God's kingdom, the kingdom of God, heaven, as you will. And it's all these different people coming together and doing the right thing. Helping others, loving each other. If one needs to be lifted up, they lift them up. And it's just sad. We live in a world today where so many people are separated and they cause these hate mobs to go after someone for one mistake, one moment of indiscretion, and they're ripping someone's heart apart, someone's life apart, destroying a person without any thought of the consequences of what they do. You're seeing it all through the culture of the world, be it actors from Hollywood or presidents, all ripping each other apart and no consensus of peace. We should have peace in this world. We know better. That's the problem. Is like, we know better, but we choose to do wrong. We know that we should come together. We know we should have peace. But we don't want to put it in the work ourselves to have this peace and love and fellowship among your fellow man. We know better. And it's been a long time that people show, acknowledge, and heighten their better self. And I'm asking mankind to please start showing your better self. That part in you. It's that part in you that is given, loving, nurturing. You see someone hurt, you try to pick them up, you try to help them when they're down. But that's not happening anymore. You see someone down and you celebrate and you cajole. And I can even say it for myself. I do it too. You know, I'm not going to be a hypocrite in this. You know, there's been points in my life where I didn't show my better self. Where I did act like the lowest human being there could possibly be. And I'm not proud of it. I certainly don't celebrate it. Because I know truly, deep within my soul, I'm not that person. You know, it says in the Bible that God does not take joy when his enemy suffers. He doesn't enjoy it. Instead, he weeps for them. Because these people who do the lowest, vilest, contemptuous things, God weeps over because he knows they have a better half. They have a better self. And they know better. Q on Star Trek was completely correct when he called us a spoiled child species. We are very much like children because though we know better, we choose to do wrong. We choose to do bad. And a lot of people celebrate this part of themselves of doing bad. Ha 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 ha. We're going to get away with this type of stuff. But in the long run, when you do that type of stuff, you're actually destroying yourself. Like, let's look at, for instance, consumerism and inflation, and how these greedy companies keep putting prices on food, on hygiene necessities. And they just keep putting the prices higher and higher and higher. And they know they shouldn't be doing that. But they're hurting themselves now through that consumerism, through that greed, because people can't pay for the stuff that they used to. They can't regularly buy the things that they used to buy on a regular basis, because the dollar amount has gone so minuscule. Not as minuscule as other countries, but, and I know this for a fact because, you know, some things I do to get a little bit of money, and I mean a very little bit of money, deals from places from other countries. And their dollar is nowhere equivalent to our dollar. And our dollar's shit. So I couldn't imagine what those other countries are going through. They're not being their better selves. And they're destroying themselves through this greed. Capitalism has failed because the high 1% doesn't do the trickle down economics as we were promised. Instead, they hoard all the money for themselves and they don't put it back out to society so they could get more money. Instead, we're at Stillwater. You know, we're at a stall. You know, no more income is coming in. Everyone is getting poorer while these rich people are hoarding all the money and complaining that they're not getting the money that they used to. But it's because you're not doing the trickle-down economics. You're not being ethical with your money. You're being greedy with your money. And you're not putting it back out into the system. Like Elon Musk, he could do so incredible and help the world in so many ways. But he chooses to hoard his money. Now, I know he gave, $9 billion to the UN to stop world hunger, and I'm hungry every day. I'm a person who eats for 15 days and then starves for 15 days because I don't have the money to get food. So I'm fasting half of the month, pretty much, because I only get a certain amount of money for food, and based on inflation, I can barely feed myself. And this is a person who's sick and kind of needs nutrients in order to help herself, but because of the lack of nutrients, I'm getting sicker and sicker. And I'm just one person, okay? I'm sure there are plenty of people around the country and world that feel the same way I do. That it's not enough to survive. Like, and I'm sure a lot of people who work go through the same thing. They're working their asses off, but they can't even feed their own selves half of the month because rent is high, electricity is high, internet is high, gas is high, food is high, essential items are high. Like, everything is up. While you have these rich people sitting on their money and bitching and complaining that people aren't spending money. But it's like, you're not putting anything in the system. Why are you bitching? You're sitting on this hoard of money. You don't suffer. You probably have no true understanding what suffering is. And you complain about money instead. The trickle-down system does not work. And it's mainly, and I think it's mainly because of the tax codes. How these companies pay zero in taxes, but seem to manage to get millions and millions and millions, sometimes billions of dollars in refunds, even though they pay zero into the system. A person's regular refund is like a couple thousand, a few thousand maybe, compared to these companies that get billions in refunds. There's an inequality within our tax code where these companies and these billionaires can pay nothing, but yet they get our money, because that's essentially our money, because we're the ones who are actually paying into the system, the taxpayers. And yes, I pay my taxes. And for some reason, you have these senators whining about Social Security when they only pay 10% into Social Security, while the normal American pays like 45% of their income into Social Security. But yet they want to cut Social Security so they can sieve in more money for themselves. Because let's just be honest, they take away Social Security, that money ain't going to go to us. It's going to go to them. Because that's how these bureaucrats, his work is, let's try to get more money for ourselves. And then wonder why the country's falling apart. It's because you're not paying your fair share. You know? I could imagine how much money we could have in our system if those rich bastards would pay the 45% that all of us have to pay into. You know what I mean? How much money would come into that system? That would make trickle economics actually work. Is if they paid their fair share. And I'm suggesting a flat tax. A flat tax. I think it's easy to calculate. You don't have to deal with all these loopholes and all this and that and that and this and that and bullshit within the tax records. You don't have to do any of that. It's just you pay your flat tax. We get our infrastructure work done. We get our roads work done. And then everyone's freaking happy. And you don't see these rich people complaining. Why is the infrastructure failing? Well, maybe it's because you're not paying into the system. And you need your refunds even though you pay zero into the system. Maybe it's your greed and capitalism that caused the system to fail. You need to have that extra percentage number. Like normal Americans, we don't look at the extra percentage number because literally we're going paycheck to paycheck. You know, imagine if rich people had to live paycheck by paycheck, I'm sure their little greedy ways would change real quick, and they wouldn't even be thinking about percentages. They'd be looking like, what do I do in order to survive, to have the essential needs for living, which is housing, water, food, medical. Like, we have a two-tiered system within our tax code. Maybe not our justice system, but it's definitely in the tax code. And it's unfair to the poor and middle class. Like, I don't get why the 1% doesn't pay anything into the system while getting refunds. And you know this because of the release of Trump's tax records. How the man paid zero into the system, but for some reason got $500 million or $5 million in refunds. Like, how do you pay zero into the system, but get $5 million into refunds? Can I do that? Can the normal American citizen do that? Pay zero in refunds and get $5 million back? I mean, no, we can't. We can't. And it hurts. Huh? It hurts. And God is watching all of this. He's watching all of this go down. I wonder what he thinks about this. This excess of greed among just the 1%. And them complaining that there are people who are homeless. And without, like, they're without need. If they wanted something, they could get it instantly. Some schlump like me, I don't get anything. I get pennies. I work and I get pennies. Wasn't America supposed to be about prosperity? Like, I've never, in all honesty, I've never seen the American dream. Come here to our land and you will get rich. That was a lie. That was a lie. Just as big as a lie as what they gave to ex-slaves in reparations, a house, a mule, and some money. They didn't do that. But yet these families are promised this. And by the way, that was promised by the Democratic Party. Not Republicans, by the way. I don't even know why people come here and try to immigrate here, because the American dream does not, it's a lie. I never prospered in this country. All I've ever done my whole life is struggle. struggling to get another paycheck, struggling to get another piece of dough, struggling to get a gig. You know, I wish I could prosper. I wish I could have that American dream. You know, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be an entertainer. You know, because I know that I can do it. And I know that I'm good at it. More importantly. But the American dream it's a lie. So people wanting to immigrate here don't. Because it's a lie. Okay, I've lived in the United States the majority of my life. 2.5 years was in Italy, but the majority of my life was in the United States, and all I've ever seen was people living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't born in richness or anything like that. I was born to two parents who struggled. My parents even were homeless several times with 4 kids. You know, I've been struggling with homelessness and not having enough money, even though my parents was a nurse and my dad was an engineer. They still struggled hardcore. My dad's a vet. And yet he still had to struggle his whole life. Struggling to get a little extra. Well, you see other people and it just seems like they have it so fucking easy. And you really don't understand what makes me different from them. I work just as hard. Why is it they are catered to, but others are not? There is an inconsistency of how others are treated. Some are put on a pedestal and pretty much worshipped, while others are degraded and dehumanized and treated like they shouldn't exist. Even though we're told at the same time that all life is precious and all life should be able to prosper. But that's not how the world really is it? I want prosperity. I want to be able to thrive. But it's hard in this world to be disabled and thrive because no one gives you a chance. They're always like, are they really disabled? Ha 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 ha. Are they really like that? That's the devil speaking. The devil is always full of doubt and hate and divisiveness, while God is about peace and love and strength and helping your fellow man. That's why I would never surrender to the devil. I'm too ethical for it, like I said before. I'm too ethical. I see people in need, and I want to help them. I see people in need, and I weep for them. I cry for people. Every day I cry for people. And I pray, please help these people, because they need to be helped. They need to feel loved. They need to feel safe. And for some reason, there's something wrong with the human mind where we can't be our better selves and do the right thing. And right now when I'm speaking about this, I'm thinking of Israel against Palestine. They could be better people. They could help the seed of Abraham if they wanted to. But they're so paranoid. And they have so much hate in their heart for the Palestinians that all they want to see is the boogeyman instead of seeing the children, the women who they kill every day. They can't see that. They're blind to it, blind to the weeping, the crying, the suffering. And woe unto them. Woe unto the state of Israel right now. Because God told you that He hates when you sow discord among your brethren. If you can't listen to David's words, someone who you look as a patriarch, if you can't listen to David, who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to listen to? You don't look at Moses when he's like, let my people go. You don't listen to that. You're no longer acting like Moses and the Israelites in the desert. You're acting like Pharaoh. You're acting like Pharaoh. And you're hurting innocent people every day for paranoia and looking for this boogeyman. And it's like America. America's always looking for the goddamn boogeyman. And it's like the people on social media, too. And their little hate mobs. They're always looking for the boogeyman. Always looking for the bad guy. Because they want an excuse to put their hate out on others. When really, in reality, there is no such thing as the boogeyman. Human beings are capable of doing good and bad. Every human being. It's what you decide, what you choose, and what you live for if you're good or bad. If you're choosing to malign people's characters every day, degrade them, dehumanize them, kill and rape them even, you are the enemy. Eternally, within yourself, you became the enemy of yourself. And you're so prideful and so proud and so arrogant, you can't see or even contemplate that what you are doing is evil because you think you're doing good by putting someone out there and harming them. And I beg to differ, because if anyone's hurting someone in any facet, they are the ones doing evil. And they know better because they could be doing good and helping their fellow man out instead of destroying someone's character. We have a lot of mental illness in this country and this world right now. A lot of mental illness. A lot of people are hurting and they want to put their pain out on someone else. But that's never going to work, and it's never going to make you feel better, but only perpetuate the cycle of abuse because you are the one being abusive. When you're putting hate out there, when you're degrading someone, when you're dehumanizing someone, you are the person who is being abusive. You are part of the problem in the cycle of abuse. And it is a cycle. And it's such a cycle and so rampant in this world that I don't want to talk to anyone, because I reject those notions so much, even though I have participated in that stuff before. But I refuse to participate in any of that stuff now, because I realize if I continue being so defensive and spewing my own hatred that's in my heart, if I spew that, I'm just put in the cycle of abuse back in the system. So I refuse to have that old mentality. I refuse to engage in the behaviors that increases that mentality. If you want peace in this world, if you truly want peace in this world, you, the individual, it is your responsibility to be peace. You have to be peace. If you want peace, you have to be peace and not engage in any behaviors that are not peaceful. If you truly want peace. I want peace. So in order to want peace, in order to manifest peace, I have to be peace. I can no longer engage in the mentality and the behaviors of that which becomes hateful. If you want something in this world, it starts with you. You have to become what you want within the world in order to manifest it, in order for it to come true. You can't say you hate this person and you hate this person, but then lie to yourself and say that you're a loving, kind individual that wants the best out of others. You can't do that. That's a sheer contradiction to oneself. I mean, you could at least be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, I am hateful. That would at least get you some brownie points. But to engage in hate on a daily basis, you're only destroying yourselves. You're only destroying yourselves. Because you're taking what could be prosperous and tainting it. But humans have this mentality, this mental illness in their head, and I think it's a mental illness, that they are constantly looking for a boogeyman, a pariah, someone to point and say, oh, that's the bad guy, instead of looking within themselves and extinguishing the bad guy that is within themselves, because they engage in mentality, they engage in behaviors that are counterproductive to what they say they are. And like I said before, I'm not innocent on this. I did it too. But I know now what's the right thing to do. Like, you remember when Jesus was being crucified, right? And he had all these Pharisees pointing at him, calling him all these names, accusing him of everything. And they were beating him. They were spitting on him. They were treating him like the lowest person, engaging in the lowest mentality, these Pharisees. And what did Jesus do? He was silent the whole time, being spit on, being abused. He was silent because he knew if he engaged in the behavior and mentality of these guys, it would increase their hatred. It would increase them to want to hurt him even more. Because it didn't matter what Jesus said, what Jesus did. It didn't matter. Their hatred was more important than the actual truth. Their paranoia was more important than the truth. And their hatred, most especially, their hatred was more important than doing what God told them to do, and that's to love thy neighbor as yourself. They didn't care about God when they were spitting on Jesus, when they were beating him to a bloody pulp where he was unrecognizable. They didn't care about God then. The only thing that mattered was they were in power. They had their money, and they had the right to say who will live and who will die. They wanted to be God. That's some satanic thinking right there. I surrender to God because I know all my suffering doesn't come from God, because he does these little miracles every day to ease my suffering. And I know he'll do a miracle today too, because he's that good of a dad. Can anyone else say today you helped a fellow man? Can you say you helped a fellow man today? Can you say you didn't say a word in slight today? Can you say you were the better of mankind today? Can you say that? Can you honestly look within yourself and say you were the better side of man today? If you did, say yes, you're on a good path. Good job. Continue it. Continue down that path of showing the better side of mankind. But if you can't honestly tell yourself that, I implore you to work on that side of yourself and try to extinguish the worst side of mankind you have within yourself. Human beings are gray. We're gray. We're both capable of good and bad. Just depends on what you choose. Period. I want to be the better part of mankind. Not this mischief that's been going on for too long. Because we're destroying ourselves with that mentality of wanting to always try to get the bad guy. How about be a good guy instead of being engaging in mentality of a bad guy? How about stop trying to hunt this Boogey Man and start looking at how you can help yourself, your family, the people around you, your fellow man. Show that side, that you can help your fellow man succeed in life. Because none of you certainly don't want to be in my position. You don't. You don't want to be in the position where every day is such a struggle. Just to go to the bathroom is a struggle. You don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be in the position where you're so hated that it doesn't matter what you say, they're going to continue to hate you. You don't want to be in that position. Because it's a very painful and lonely path. But I guess it's necessary. God puts trials and tribulations on the best of his prophets. It always has. Probably because they can handle it. And he knows no matter what happens, they won't deny him. And I won't deny God. I surrender to Jesus Christ fully in behavior and thoughts, in my mind, in my speech. I surrender him to that. Can you do as much? A lot of people boast that they're Christians, but yet they act more like the devil than they act like Christ. They're so angry and so full of bitterness and hatred. Even though the Bible tells you to put away all bitterness and wrath. But they're so angry at the world, at everyone that's different than them, that they go after them with such hatred. I can't do that. I know what hate is like. I know how it is to be in the middle of a mob of hundreds of people and be completely annihilated. I know how that feels. I don't want to put anyone in that position because it's one of the worst feelings you could ever have. It makes you want to die. It makes you hurt. It makes you feel helpless, hopeless. And don't do that to other people. Don't do that to other people. It's not right. It's not good. It's not going to help you either. You enacting in hate. You trying to get this boogeyman. All you're doing is causing more suffering to be in this world. And if you think you're high and mighty and you're hating on people, you're not high and mighty. You're not being the better person. You're not. You're actually being the lowest type of person with the lowest type of mentality. And you know better. More importantly, you know better. Unless you say you're a psychopath and you can't tell the difference between right and wrong, which, you know, I've seen statistics is very rare for a person to be like that. Most people know the difference. The majority of people know the difference. Alright. I think I needed to say what I needed to say. Jesus bless everyone. Have a wonderful day. Be like Jesus. Be like Buddha. Be peaceful. Be loving. And stop looking for that boogeyman. Because the only boogeyman you should find is within your own heart. Because everyone has a boogeyman within their heart. And if you honestly want change, you have to change yourself. And don't put it on other people to change for you. Peace and Maranatha, my loves. May you walk with Jesus and take his philosophy. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Take his philosophy of peace, love, and understanding and put that on your heart. I pray that you do. Stop looking for the boogeyman. He doesn't exist. It's all in your imagination. Everyone's capable of good and evil. It just depends on what you choose to do every day. And if you're dehumanizing and degrading someone, you're not being that better man. Alright. Shannon signing off. Peace and Maranatha.